Good, I Alison. Right, I'm up a little bit late for this, but I went to have a look at Rishi Sunak's first PMQs. So let's have a butchers.
He'll know I can't comment on individual bids, but by the end of the year, an announcement is expected on the success, and I wish him every luck with that.
Let's come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and may I welcome the Prime Minister. The first British Asian Prime Minister is a significant moment in our national story. And it's a reminder that for all the challenges we face as a country, Britain is a place where people of all races and all beliefs can fulfil their dreams. That's not true in every country, and many didn't think that they would live to see the day when it would be true here. It's part of what makes us all so proud to be British. Was his Home Secretary right to resign last week for a breach of security?
Prime Minister! Well, Mr. Speaker, can I thank the honourable gentleman for his kind and indeed generous welcome to the dispatch box. I look forward to Prime Minister's question time with him, and I know that we will have, no doubt, robust exchanges, but I hope that they can also be serious and grown up. So I look forward to it. Well, he asked about the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary made an error of judgment, but she recognised that. She raised the matter and she accepted her mistake. And that's why I was delighted to welcome back into a united cabinet that brings experience.
No, you were in a shite position
to the heart of
without
government.
that.
And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker,
Tell the truth.
what the Home Secretary will be focused on. She'll be focused on cracking down on criminals, on defending our borders, while the party opposite remains soft on crime and in favour of unlimited immigration.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister stood on the steps of Downing Street and promised integrity, professionalism and accountability. But then, with his first act, he appointed a Home Secretary who was sacked by his predecessor a week ago for deliberately pinging around sensitive Home Office documents from her personal account. Far from soft on crime, I ran the Crown Prosecution Service for 5 years. I worked with Home Secretaries to take on terrorists and serious organised crime. And I know firsthand how important it is that we have a Home Secretary whose integrity and professionalism are beyond question. So, have officials raised concerns about his decision to appoint her?
Yes, I have actually heard that they have.
Mr. Speaker, I just addressed the issue with the Home Secretary, but he talked about fighting crime. I would hope, Mr. Speaker, that he would welcome. I would hope that as we look on, he would welcome the news today that there are over 15,000 new police officers on our streets. And the Home Secretary will be supporting them to tackle burglaries. While the party opposite will be backing the lunatic protesting fringe that are stopping working people going about their lives.
Yes, Starmer.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I listened carefully. That was clearly not a no. We can all see what's happened here. He's so weak. He's done a grubby deal, trading national security because he was scared to lose another leadership election. There's a new Tory at the top, but as always with them, party first, country second.
Boom.
Yesterday, on the steps of Downing Street, he also admitted what the whole country knows. The Tories have crashed the economy, and now somebody has to pay for their mess. I say it shouldn't be working people who've been hammered time and again by this lot, but those with the broadest shoulders must step up. Does he agree?
No. Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable gentleman talked about party first and country second. Perhaps he can explain to us why it was a few years ago he was supporting the member for Islington North.
Because Corbyn wants to do good for the country.
Mr. Speaker, my record is clear. When times are difficult in this country, I will always protect the most vulnerable. That is the values of our compassionate party. We did it in COVID and we will do that again.
Mr. Speaker, he says he'll protect the most vulnerable. Let's test that. The government currently allows very rich people to live here but register abroad for tax purposes. I don't need to explain to the Prime Minister how non-dom status works. He already knows all about that. It costs the Treasury £3.2 billion every year. Why doesn't he put his money where his mouth is and get rid of it?
Apologies about that. A bit of a cough. It's not SARS-CoV-2, by the way.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I have been honest. We will have to take difficult decisions to restore economic stability and confidence. And my honourable friend, the Chancellor, will set that out in an autumn statement in just a few weeks. But what I can say, as we did during COVID, we will always protect the most vulnerable. We will do this in a fair way. But what I can say, I am glad, Mr. Speaker, that the party opposite, honourable gentleman, has finally realised that spending does need to be paid for. It is a novel concept for the party opposite. This government is going to restore economic stability and we will do it in a fair and compassionate way.
I know he's been away for a few weeks, but he should have listened to what's been going on the last 2.
Catch up, Rishi, catch up.
I have to say, I'm surprised he's still defending non-dom status. He pretends he's on the side of working people, but in private he says something very different. Over the summer, he was secretly recorded at a garden party in Tunbridge Wells, boasting to a group of Tory members that he personally moved money away from deprived areas to wealthy places instead. Rather than apologise or pretend that he meant something else, why doesn't he now do the right thing and undo the changes that he made to those funding formulas?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know the right honourable gentleman rarely leaves North London. But if he does, he will know that there are deprived areas in our rural communities, in our coastal communities, and across the south, and this government will relentlessly support them, because we are a government that will deliver for people across the United Kingdom. But Mr. Speaker, he mentioned the last few weeks. I am the first to admit that mistakes were made, and that's the reason I am standing here. But that is the difference between him and me. This summer, I was being honest about the difficulties that we were facing. But when he ran for leader, he promised his party he would borrow billions and billions of pounds. I told the truth for the good of the country. He told his party what it wanted to hear. Leadership is not selling fairy tales. It is confronting challenges, and that is the leadership the British people will get from this government.
Mr. Speaker, I think everyone should watch the video and make their own minds up. In public, he claims he wants to level up the North, but then he boasts about trying to funnel vital investment away from deprived areas. He says one thing and does another. But they're shouting. They're not my words. They're not my words. They're the words of the former chair of the Tory party, sacked yesterday for telling the truth about the Prime Minister. Even his own side know he's not on the side of working people. That's why the only time he ran in a competitive election, he got trounced by the former Prime Minister, who herself got beaten by a lettuce.
That is an excellent
line. So why doesn't he put it to the test, let working people have their say, and call a general election?
Fucking right, Kia.
Well, it'll take a long time to get through this paper if we carry on like this, Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about mandates, about votes, about elections. It's a bit rich coming from the person who tried to overturn the biggest democratic vote in our country's history. Our mandate is based on a manifesto that we were elected on to remind him an election that we won and they lost. A mandate that says we want a stronger NHS, better schools, safer streets, control of our borders and levelling up. That is the mandate that I and this government will deliver for the British people.
Well, that was
There's not enough questions. You want more? Come on, Heather.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to congratulate my right honourable friend and new Prime Minister, and also to thank our previous Prime Minister for the straightforward way she has handled her resignation, and I wish her and her family well for the future.
Can I thank the former Prime Minister for fucking off National League?
To make it clear to the British Medical Council and the British Dental Association that as well as training, more training spaces opening up, that they must allow new doctors and dentists to work in the UK so that the good people of South Derbyshire can get treatment on the NHS.
Get out of your comfort food zone with Bavira and remix your routine eats. Because who wants the same dish when you can make every plate delish? With a range of tasty plant-based products, Bavira brings positive variety to every table.
Sky News.
Well, I thank my honourable friend for her question. She's absolutely right. I'm pleased that there are 3,500 more doctors and over 9,000 more nurses working this year than last. But she's right, and we are working to simplify the registration for dentists in particular that are not trained here to practice here, and that's how we'll help deliver a long-term workforce plan for the NHS and ensure everyone can get the care they need.
Let's come to the leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I congratulate the new Prime Minister on becoming the first British Asian to hold the office. The significance and the symbolism of this achievement is to be warmly welcomed by everyone. Mr. Speaker, yesterday on the steps of Downing Street, the new Prime Minister promised to bring, and I quote, compassion to the challenges that we face today. So, on his first full day in the job, let's put that to the test. A winter of uncertainty is coming, and next April we'll see a cliff edge moment. Millions face a double whammy as the energy price guarantee is cut off, while households are hit by austerity 2.0 and a real terms cut to social security benefits that many rely on to survive. If people are actually to trust the new Prime Minister's words about compassion, will he today reassure people and guarantee that benefits will rise in line with inflation in his upcoming budget?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank the right honourable gentleman for his, again, kind remarks. And what I can tell him is my record on this is clear. Through the difficult times that we faced in this country through COVID, I always acted in a way to protect the most vulnerable. That's because it is the right thing to do, and those are the values of our compassionate party. And I can absolutely reassure him and give him that commitment that we will continue to act like that in the weeks ahead.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's test that, because as Chancellor, the Prime Minister slashed universal credit and presided over the worst levels. Well, you know, for the hard of hearing on the Tory side, I might remind them that universal credit was cut by £20 a week. And presided over the worst levels of poverty in North West Europe. So I hope that he has learned from his mistakes and guarantees that benefits will rise in line with inflation. But speaking of mistakes, yesterday the Prime Minister appointed a Home Secretary who was forced to resign only last week for breaching the ministerial code, and who boasted that she dreamed of sending vulnerable asylum seekers to Rwanda. We all know why he appointed her, a sleazy backroom deal to shore up his own position. Far from being a fresh start, this is a return to the sleaze and scandal and ghosts of cabinets past. The Prime Minister promised to govern with integrity and humility. So if he has an ounce of either, will he admit his mistake and sack the Home Secretary without a delay?
No, because it just caused a massive
Mr.
ruckus in
Speaker,
the
I was
party.
pleased to actually have a call last night with the First Minister of Scotland. It was important that I spoke to her on my first day in office
considering
because I
fucking
wanted
Liz
to
Truss
express
didn't.
my desire to work constructively with the Scottish Government so that we can work together to deliver for the people of Scotland, and that is what I plan to do. And indeed, I hope crime is one of the things that we can collaborate on, because he will know that violent crime is rising in Scotland and police numbers are falling. Whereas here, we are increasing police numbers, Mr. Speaker. But I look forward to working with the Scottish Government on our shared challenges, because I believe in a strong United Kingdom.
Dr. Andrew Morris.
Mr. Speaker, what a pleasure it was to welcome the Prime Minister to my constituency in the summer. He will know one of the burning issues in my constituency is the proposed waste incinerator at Westbury. With the government rightly reviewing its air quality targets, can I ask my right honourable friend to signal his intent to continue promoting public health, net zero and the environment by placing a moratorium on any more unwanted, unnecessary, toxic waste burners?
Prime Minister, I can tell my honourable friend, I know he's been a vociferous campaigner on this issue as I learned over the summer. He'll know that local authorities determine these issues, but also to reassure him that all large incinerators in England must comply with strict emission limits and only receive permits if plants don't cause any damage to human health. And hopefully that is reassuring.
Surely there must be filtration work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
deal with
The
the
Prime
excess
Minister's
coming
reckless
out of
predecessor took a wrecking ball to nature, prompting millions of members of the RSPB, the National Trust and the Wildlife Trust to rise up in opposition. Yesterday, he promised to fix her mistakes as well as to uphold the party's 2019 manifesto. So if he is a man of his word, will he start by reversing the green light she gave to fracking, since it's categorically not been shown to be safe, and instead maintain the moratorium that was pledged in that very manifesto that he has promised to uphold?
Well, I've already said I stand by the manifesto on that, but what I would say is that I'm proud that this government has passed the landmark Environment Act, putting more protection for the natural environment than we've ever had.
Why was there shit in the rivers?
I can give the Honourable Lady my commitment that we will deliver.
Why was there
on all
shit
those
on the
ambitions.
beaches?
We will deliver
Like
on what
actual
we said
shit.
because we care deeply about passing our children an environment in better state than we found it ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too would like to welcome the Prime Minister to his place. Farmers in my constituency of Clwyd South are delighted that after 20 years they are once more able to sell Welsh lamb to the US market. Would the Prime Minister comment on the size and prospects of this market for our world-beating Welsh lamb?
Mr. Speaker, I congratulate my colleague on the fantastic achievement. I can tell him that market is worth, I think, something like almost £40 million over the first few years. Enormous boost for our lamb farmers. I would just encourage the 300 million US consumers to give Yorkshire Swaledale a lamb a look in as well. But I know he and I, if we disagree on that, are united on the fact that we will unequivocally back British farming and British farmers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is certainly a topsy-turvy Tory government. A few days ago, I was going to put my question to the former Prime Minister. But my inbox has been full of emails from constituents of Lewisham East writing to me about their desperate situation of their wages simply not going far enough. I'm also receiving emails about rents going up, energy prices going up, mortgages going up, and of course the cost of living is already up. This week, my constituents are writing to me demanding a general election, and I absolutely agree with them. So can the Prime Minister tell me and my constituents when there will be a general election?
Mr. Speaker, we've already addressed that, but I would say, as I said in the summer, I said inflation is indeed the enemy. It makes everyone poorer, it erodes savings, and that's why it will be a priority of our government to grip and reduce inflation and provide support to those who need it as we do.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This autumn, I'm launching my campaign to extend the Chilterns area of natural beauty across thousands of acres of scenic beauty, chalk streams, and valuable habitats that happen to surround the wonderful town of Hitchin in my constituency. Would the Prime Minister join me in celebrating areas protected by AONB status and indeed support my campaign to potentially extend them in rural Hertfordshire?
Well, I thank my honourable friend, because I know this is a matter of great importance to him and his constituents, and he
seemed very...
That's that from that, but I'm going to listen to a little bit of the analysis, and then we're bringing this to a close. But I was so pissed off listening to most of that.
Very upbeat, very combative, very confident.
Come on.
The dispatch box there. And Keir Starmer came in with some pretty devastating questions and also some pretty cruel put-downs, actually, in order to try and get Rishi Sunak on his heels. And I thought both men actually gave strong performances. For the Conservative backbenchers to see Mr. Sunak kind of approach and really attack Prime Minister's questions in the way that at times Boris Johnson in the past did as well would have been a relief to them after some pretty difficult performances for Liz Truss. She only did 3, remember. But in terms of the substance of that, there were 2 themes that came out or 3 themes that came out, I think, for Keir Starmer. The first was on policy, that the reappointment of Suella Braverman is clearly highly controversial. That was his first question, while he welcomed Mr. Sunak as being the first British Asian Prime Minister. He then went straight in with a very short question saying, was the Home Secretary right to resign last week? And you knew where that was going. Rishi Sunak tried to defend that decision, saying she recognised the error of judgment. I'm delighted to welcome her back. Then Keir Starmer came back with what was another difficult question, which was, were you advised by officials not to make this reappointment? Now, I have been told by one source that the Prime Minister was advised. I have to say I have not got that confirmed.
And it wasn't confirmed by the Prime Minister
in Downing Street. Neither did the Prime Minister, and that was the significant point. He didn't answer that question. He dodged that question. So let's see how that one unfolds. There's an urgent question potentially soon as well. And then he moved on, Keir Starmer, to the kind of Labour attack lines I think we're going to see, which is that Rishi Sunak is a very wealthy man. He's out of touch. He brought up the issue of his wife's non-dom status. Rishi Sunak is aware that these questions are going to come at him and basically handled them pretty well. And when Keir Starmer brought up the issue of this footage in which Rishi Sunak had talked about moving money away from places in the north back to wealthier constituencies, this is an attack line that Labour will use again and again and again at him. He sort of stood up and said, I'm a Prime Minister that will tell the truth. So Rishi Sunak...
he said, I told my party hard truths when running. You told them fairy tales.
Exactly. So what he's saying is, stop trying to paint me as someone that doesn't tell the truth or tries to be too political. I am someone that does tell hard truths. This is my character. I am a politician of integrity. Thanks for finding the quote. I was trying to scroll down.
It's all right. I just turned over my page. It just
was very helpful. I couldn't quite find. I was going through my notes. So I think that is a clear attack line from Keir Starmer. The final thing, of course, was the issue of a general election, and the question of legitimacy again will come up again and again and again.
Yeah, Beth, I know you've got to go. Busy day for you as political editor. Beth Rigby, thank you. And don't worry, I've got the quotes here.
So yeah, there's a bit of analysis as well. It was a more robust performance than Liz Truss. But he left himself wide open a couple of times. And once again, it's not it's not leader of the opposition questions, it's Prime Minister's questions. So stop asking questions when you answer, you dickhead. So I've not long been up So when I put this on, I watched a little bit of it, and I was like, okay, I better record this. And I'm kind of glad that I did, but like, definitely not a bad performance from Keir Starmer. Like, he's definitely feeling more confident than he had been. This line that Tories keep pulling about Corbyn, about Starmer and Corbyn, it's like, yeah, he was the former leader. Now I'm the leader. So follow the leader. Boom. No. But yeah, it just. Starmer asked a great question when it came to austerity, and Sunak just dodged, which doesn't look good, considering he was there saying that he says the hard truths and that he's honest with the people. But you weren't then, were you? Because you just went with slippery Cameron and Osborne, fucking bell end. But yeah, this has been my reaction to sneaky, slippery Sunak and his first PMQs. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe. This has been Shadow Rita. And blessed to say, everyone.